You're listening to Mic Drop Moments, a podcast brought to you each week with me, your host, Sandra Garlick. During the podcast, I invite guests to share their amazing stories, knowledge, and top tips, including their mic drop moments, especially for you. I also share my learning and inspiration about life, business growth, and visibility. I'm delighted to bring the Mic Drop Moments podcast to you each week to inspire and motivate you to achieve. Enjoy the podcast and don't forget to leave a review. Mic Drop Moments is sponsored by Grow Radio. Want to launch your own podcast? Grow Radio are here to help. Grow Radio has launched and supported countless podcasts, and they'd love to do the same for you. Just hit record and they'll handle the rest. No editing stress, no technical faff, just a great podcast released when you want. Need a little extra support? Grow Radio's workshops and courses make getting started easy. Let's bring your podcast to life. Message Grow Radio on social media. Let's make this happen. Welcome to Mic Drop Moments. This week, I'm talking all about the power of connection. In fact, this whole month, I'm talking about the power of connection. Let's extend that. Maybe this year, my focus is connection. You'll hear me talk a lot about visibility. It's my world. It's what I've done for the last 10 years. It's my work. It's through my awards. It's through my academy. It's through the Amplify experience. Everything I do, every action I take is rooted in visibility. But it's what I help women in business build strategically, intentionally, and more importantly, right now, it has to be on their terms. It has to be on your terms, because what works for one person doesn't work for everybody. And people right now are feeling so much pressure because they think they've got to be doing it all. And honestly, you haven't. But one thing I want to talk about today is something a little deeper, because I've realised that visibility alone isn't enough. In fact, visibility without the connection piece just becomes more noise. And how much noise is there out there right now? You can be seen, you can be heard, you can even be known. But if there's no depth to the connection underneath it, it doesn't convert. And I'm sorry, but we're all out there to convert at the end of the day. We're businesses. We want to convert. We want to make the sales. And sales is not a dirty word. So it's not sustainable by just being constantly visible. Visibility is awareness. People become aware of you. But to actually get to the next stage and make that connection, you have to do something more. And I truly believe that this is the missing piece for so many business owners. They're visible, but they're not connected. They're posting, but they're not building relationships. They're networking, but they're not nurturing. And there is a huge difference. And don't get me wrong, I've had periods in my business where I've been incredibly visible. In fact, I managed to transition from a solicitor's practice to doing what I do now with very little difficulty, because I'd already built an established personal brand around me, my likes, my dislikes, who I am, and what I stand for. But I tried an experiment last year, and I've talked about this a lot. And I've been visible through events, hosting my own attending events, speaking on stages, speaking on panels, speaking on the radio, back in the day, speaking on TV. I've done an incredible amount of content. I've delivered awards for the last 10 years. My social media is, yes, well, let's just say it's consistent, if not or every day. I am consistent. I exhibit at events. I've sponsored a phenomenal amount of events recently, and I love hosting events. In fact, I'm hosting quite a few events this month. So showing up everywhere It almost felt impossible to show up, especially when it was one after another after another. And I've talked a lot about last October, 6 events in 10 days was just too much. And I wasn't able to make the connections because I was racing from one event to the next. And from the outside, it probably looked like great momentum. It was an experiment for me. Did it work? In some cases, yes, but in some cases it didn't. And we all know that I burnt myself out, ended up ill, and was too ill to go on my holiday, which was such a shame. And now I desperately need one. But I was on stages, I was behind microphones, I was in photographs, I was tagged, I was shared, I was seen, I was launching things, building things, creating things. It looked busy, very busy. And yet there were times when all that visibility didn't translate into the depth of growth that I expected. Don't get me wrong, I had some really good months, but it wasn't sustainable. And that's uncomfortable to admit, really. And I love trying out new things and passing on my wisdom, my learning, so that you don't have to make the mistakes that I make. I call them learning curves. I was visible, but visibility can be really surface level if you don't take the next step. And being present everywhere isn't the same as being connected anywhere, really. Visibility puts you in the room. Connection is what makes the room remember you. Do you remember what I say? You can have the appearance of being everywhere, even when you're not. That's the connection piece. I've walked into countless rooms, and even yesterday I walked into a room and somebody said, "Oh, I know you," or "I've heard about you." And that's great. That's visibility in action. And I hadn't pitched to them, I hadn't messaged them, I hadn't emailed them a proposal or anything like that, but somebody else had spoken my name. That wasn't visibility alone. That's somebody I've connected with in the past, and they're now speaking about me. I had a message in my inbox this morning introducing me to somebody because of a connection I'd made. I have people recommending me to others because of the connection we have and the trust that's been built. And it was trust quietly built in the background. And that's when something really shifted for me, because it's not transactional. It's not what can I get from this connection? I don't connect with people to think, what can I get from you? I connect with people because I genuinely want to connect. If something comes from it, it might be they want to work with me. I might want to work with them. I might want to refer them to somebody else. They might refer me to somebody else. It's building relationships which compound over time. It's a bit like when you're doing compound interest, really. It builds gradually over time. But when you show up consistently, not perfectly, not constantly, just consistently, gently, people begin to associate you with something. When you have real connection and real conversations instead of these surface level exchanges, you move from being visible to being trusted. And trusted people get recommended. And that's the depth piece, that's the missing piece. And that's the piece I think that was missing for me last October. It was that deeper connection level. And I see it play out all the time in my world, in my academy, at my awards, in the rooms I host, and the rooms I sit in, the events I attend. Women recommending each other without even being asked. You need to speak to X, or let me introduce you to Y, or I've been to a fantastic event, you ought to go. That's connection in action. Introducing one another to other sponsors and things like that. It doesn't happen because somebody posted well on social media that week. And, social media has its place and I wouldn't be without it. But it happens because it's gone that one step further, that connection that's been built over a period of time. I've got connections that I've had for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They are trusted relationships. And there's a moment at the awards every year, and if you've been, you'll know there's an energy in the room, but there's also a shift in the room. The noise changes. In fact, the noise gets louder. And I used to have entertainment at my awards, and I've actually stopped all the entertainment because I believe that that's when the great conversations happen. And through those conversations, the connections are made. I've lost count of the times that people said, I've walked in alone and left with friends for life. I've made such fantastic connections. Oh my God, we're collaborating together. We're delivering an event together. All those connections that lead to something special. And those conversations deepen, the people lean in at my awards, and you can physically feel that cohesion, that connection happening. I can see it with my eyes happening in the room, and so many people afterwards reach out and tell me. And that's not transactional energy, it's relationship energy, it's relational. And, you know, people tell me they joined the Amplify experience or they've joined something I'm promoting, not because of a sales page. It's because of the trust in me and the connection we have. They trust my decisions. And, you know, when I look at the awards room and I feel that energy, as I stand on the stage, I feel it like a surge coming towards me. And it builds that credibility piece as well, because people want to be in that room. They want to make those connections. I'm briefly interrupting this podcast to tell you about something brand new. It's not a course, it's not a program, it's the Amplify experience, a carefully curated space designed to help you reconnect with your voice, elevate your personal brand, and grow your business in a way that feels aligned, authentic, and powerful. Visit the show notes to book your discovery call and let's chat to see if the Amplify experience is right for you. Now back to the podcast. And when somebody says, oh, you need to speak to her, it's just so magical. So there's no agenda message in this. There's no, you know, sort of, you have to do it in a specific way. There's no scripted way to do this. This is just being you and naturally you in conversation with somebody else. Now, we won't make a connection to everybody. Some people, we're just not on the same level. We're not aligned. We don't share the same values, and that's okay. We can't be everybody's friend, but we can connect with the people we're aligned with, and you'll naturally find they gravitate towards you. So these are the people that support you. Earlier on this year, I had my Academy champions. They were shouting the Academy from the rooftops. They show up when I'm launching. These are people that reach out when you need help or a favour. They attend when you're hosting an event or when you've got something to sell or whether you're putting on a masterclass. And the real connection is built in between these. It's built quietly in the background. It's built in the consistency. And it's built in the moments when nobody is watching. This isn't somebody you do and promote it and put it out on your social media feed even. It happens in the background. It's not about pitches. It's not about sales pages. It's not about launches. It's about conversation. And there's no hidden agenda behind it. It's just support. It's just two people coming together and having a conversation. It's two people connecting and saying, I want to introduce you to somebody. I believe you should really know each other. You will resonate with each other. It's attending a room when you don't need anything, but you're just there simply to have conversations. It's sitting at a different table. How many times do you go to events and sit with the person you attended with? I try, and sometimes I think I offend people when I say, I don't want to be on your table. It's not because I don't want to sit with you and spend time with you. It's I want to connect with new people. I will speak to you anyway. We will have that conversation anyway. We're already connected. We're already building our relationship. But it's actually sitting at different tables, inviting people to sit on your tables, inviting them in. Many, many years ago, I remember one of my speakers came up to me and she actually said it during her talk. Thank you for giving me a seat at the table. And I think that's just amazing. And it's contributing to conversations, not because you're chasing that visibility piece. It's because you understand. You understand the opportunity and the trust that's building in the background. And some of my biggest growth in business hasn't come from a perfectly drafted written social post. It hasn't come from obsessing over numbers or followers or reach. It's come from collaboration. I've got some great collaborations that I do with people. The Great Women in Business is a key example. 4 women in business networks that have come together to create the Great Women in Business meetup. And if you're attending this year on the 9th of March, can't wait to see you. And it's come from those collaborations. It's come from sitting on panels with other people and connecting with the other panelists. It's come from podcasts and connecting with my guests. It's come from joint workshops that I've hosted. It's come from shared stages. It's come from sponsorship, people who sponsor my events and those events I sponsor. It's come from co-created projects. And I believe that when values align and audiences complement each other, visibility expands organically. You don't need to pay for it. You don't need paid ads and things like that. It's not forced. It's not frantic. It's simple and aligned. And I believe that aligned visibility feels very, very different. And it doesn't feel exhausting. And you don't feel as if you've got to constantly be on your socials. And in the long term, it's sustainable and you won't burn out. So when you intentionally engage in community and you forget about the algos, so how many times do we hear that word? Oh, it's the algorithm. And stop obsessing over the number of impressions, the number of views, the number of likes, the number of comments, and you stop trying to align your confidence based on your metrics. I think you can take your visibility away from your social feeds and take it into the conversations that happen, maybe from the connections you make on your socials, the connections you make in rooms, and the connections that you build over time. And I believe that conversations travel further than content ever will. What is it they used to say? Today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip paper. Well, it's the same with social media. I could post the same post every single week and I bet you nobody would notice because we don't remember what we posted yesterday, let alone last week, last month, last year. That's why I repurpose a lot of my content. So I want you to sit with this and think about it. I'm going to be speaking to lots of people about connection over the next month and over the next few months, maybe. And I want you to think about this. Are you visible right now, but maybe a little disconnected? Are you known, but not deeply trusted? It's not actually converting into anything. Are you collecting contacts or building advocates, people who would champion you? Who could you check in with this week with absolutely no agenda behind it, no sales pitch or pitch slaps as I call them, just with no agenda? Who could you reach out to? Who could you introduce to somebody? Who could you connect? What rooms do you need to show up in? Consistently, not just occasionally, the right rooms. Because I believe that visibility attracts attention, but connection is what creates the momentum. And when you build both intentionally, that's when it becomes sustainable. And when your name is spoken in rooms you're not even in, that's where the opportunities arise and the magic happens. And that's when you stop chasing and you start being invited. So if you're craving that deeper visibility that I've been talking about, not louder, not talking louder, I'm not talking about doing more, then focus on connection. Focus on your consistency. Even if you're posting just once a week on social media, that's fine, but it's consistent. Focus on the contribution you can make. Be someone who adds value to a room. Be someone who champions others. And be someone who shows up even when there's nothing to sell. And as I said, that's where the magic happens, not in being everywhere, but being remembered and being talked about everywhere, in a positive way, of course. So what's my mic drop moment for today? Well, my mic drop moment, I suppose, is visibility might get you noticed. It builds that awareness, but connection is what gets you remembered. I'll be back next week with another episode of Mic Drop Moments. Thank you for listening to the Mic Drop Moments podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me next week for more inspiration, learning, and top tips. Want to work with me on your business growth and strategy, speaking, or simply growing your audience? Just get in touch. Visit womanwho.co.uk to find out how you can start your speaking and visibility journey, or even feature on a future podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's podcast. And if there are any topics you would like to hear, just get in touch with me, your host, Sandra Garlick.